Alright, I'm going to make a quick video because I find videos really helpful for everything I need to do, and I don't want to pay someone, so I think it's beneficial when you do something and you do it successfully to go ahead and share it online to help others out with the same problem. So my feat that I wanted to do was I purchased a new Infiniti Q50 Signature Edition, and I wanted to add my radar detector, which I've had in my other vehicles, by using the add a fuse. Well, come to find out, I've had a 16, 17, 18 year vehicle, and this little add a fuse was a little bit different. The previous models that I'd used didn't work on this Q50 because it had I think what's called a mini fuse, and I'm going to show some examples. The one that I have is a mini, but it's not a micro, I think is what it's called. So you're going to have to do some research, but I'm going to show you some pictures. And then I'm going to help you find the fuse box, because that's a little challenging too. I found that by going online. But since I did it already, I'm just going to include it in one video. So how to wire up your radar detector to your car. And the place that I mounted it and how I ran the wires specific. So if you have a Q50, this will be really helpful, and I think it's a really clean install. Okay, here, the door that in the car down there by your foot pedals is your cover that pops off. And what's helpful about this is it has a diagram there on your fuses. Actually, it's upside down. Your fuses there. Okay, so this can get kind of confusing because you have to find a fuse that turns off with the ignition. And man, I had a hard time finding. I had to they don't come out super easy. You got to get some pliers, and you got to pull them out like a tooth. And so I had to pull a bunch out, and it's got to be 100 degrees and like 80% humidity. I mean, everything I do, I'm just sweating profusely. Even at night, it's crazy out. I mean, you can't even work on anything. So that's compounded this whole ordeal of trying to get this done. But to move on, I digress. Okay. All right, so here we have our fuse box, and through trial and error, you're going to want to tap in with this specific vehicle. I found that the audio mirror is the best option because that turns off with the ignition. I tried a whole bunch of other fuses, and even the audio and the meter, and they didn't work for me. My radar detector stayed on or it didn't work. So the audio mirror, the 10 amp down there on the bottom on the left, that would be this one right here, 10 amp. So here's the version that I had. I had to cut it off and use the other one because this one, these pins are longer, and the micro, they're much shorter. And so this one, I mean, and it didn't work for me. I couldn't get it turned on. So I had to go and buy this mini, or they call it a mini or a micro version, and I'm going to show you on Google the differences between the two. But here was the fuse that this one used. See how it matches the prongs right there, and it fits into the line right there, into that top one. I don't know what the second one is for, because obviously it looks like, I mean, maybe to hold a spare, but make sure you put it in that slot right there. So I'm going to show you where now. Coming to the car, man, this is a tough part. You got to get under here and get into your seat area, and then there's where your fuse box is right there. And let me aim it up, and you just pop the top of it off right there and pull it off. And then as you see, I ran my add a fuse. As you can see, just by how hot it is, the sweat I'm dripping. This is my add a fuse right there, and then I just ran it. I don't know if I can see up under here. I just ran it over to here, and then what you're going to have to do is pull this molding off. It just pulls off. Pull it this direction away, and pull it off and pull it down. I didn't totally remove. I just pulled it out, and then what you do is you insert your wire. The easiest way is to insert your wire right here, run your radar detector wire right and have it here, and then add your fuse part, and then do the crimping right here, because it's hard to get that whole unit into this little area. And then what you do when you hook all this up, and I have this piece here that I have to wire in, and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna have to find a good location for it, but that's to hit with my kind of radar detector. When it goes off and you want to silence it, you can hit this button right here. But then once you wire it up under here, and then you're gonna run it up under here and out right here, and then you're gonna run it up here, and then you're gonna have to pull back on the liner. Let's see if the liner a little bit, and you're gonna insert it in the liner, and then let me get in here. And then once you're in here, I didn't want to pull this piece off, this pillar piece, because I just don't like to do that if I don't have to, because it never fits back on as tight, and you always kind of tear up the little plastic prongs that it fits into. And so what I did is I just got my wedge. You get these at AutoZone or all kinds of places. There's a whole kit of them, about 6 of them, different wedges. And then these help you to remove pieces like that, and they're really, really helpful, all kinds of things. So I just put this in and pried it open just a little bit, just enough to get my wire, to insert my wire. It was really tight, and you got to use a little bit of pressure and get it, and then run it up the pillar, and then insert it in here so you don't see it, and then it fits. Let me see if I can show. Then the wire is going to come right here along the windshield, and then you put it up and you press it up into the liner. Not super forceful, just enough so it hides and it doesn't hang down. And then there is a place, let me see here, in the mirror, where the wire will fit back into this black piece right here, up under that, and then it fits right up in this groove, and then so it's totally hidden, comes out, and it mounts your radar detector right there. See how I have it mounted right there, and I can't remember what that special suction thing I have, but it's double side 3M black tape, super industrial, and it holds in the sun, and so you can see it's mounted out of the way. And the cool thing is I have it hanging down just slightly past this black black material that's on there, because I don't want anything to interrupt my beam going out, or receiving, actually not beam going out, receiving the radar signal, and it's hanging just low enough. And what's really cool about this is that it's not hanging down on your dash, so I can leave this up all the time, and it confuses people because they don't see it. If they really look for it, then you'll see it from the outside, but it's up high enough that it's not as visible. So thieves, I've had 6 of these things stolen from over the last 30 years from when I was in high school to now, and they just smash your window out and they grab and go, and that just sucks. So it's up high enough, and I've even had my cars broken into and trying to have them stolen, and they have broken into my car, broke the ignition on a Mustang GT 1988, and I had mounted up high like that, and they didn't see it. And it was a Passport. It was a $400 Passport at the time, and they didn't even see it. So there you can kind of see it kind of blends in with some of that. I know the reflection of the mirror there blends in with some of that electronics, the sensors. As you can see, there's the black tape, so it's not obtrusive. It's not white. Let's see if you can. I mean, that's getting up real close to it, but as you can see, as we move out, it's kind of hidden by this black, the black that hangs down right there. So, minus the traffic noise. So, I hope that helps someone. As you can see, it's not in your view, and I didn't mount it on the driver's side because I like having all my clear vision. It's over there, and when it goes off, it's going to alert me. And then my little button on the bottom that I have to just mount with some of that 3M double-side sticky tape. I mean, really good stuff. But it's like $7, a little bitty tiny roll, or $10. And then I'm going to mount that so you can see all the wires. There's no wire showing. You just run it up your pillar and then blend it into your pillar and around and go up through the top. And then just mount it right there on the side. As you can see, I sweat pretty profusely when it's in 80 or 90% humidity. But I hope this helps someone. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me a question. And if you want to subscribe, I try to do helpful things like this video, off-the-wall things with pistols, chainsaws, bicycles, you know, all kinds of things. So yeah, if you want to subscribe to my stuff and help me get to, you know, a certain amount of subscribers, that would be cool. Have a good day. Also, to add a little bit more real quick, I've done my fair amount of research on mounting radar detectors, and some people will say I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do know what I'm talking about. I like to mount my radar detectors. There's some people that or a manufacturer that makes that you can attach a radar detector to your mirror, and it doesn't your radar detector doesn't contact the glass. And from all the research that I've done, and it's been pretty extensive, that it is beneficial to have your radar detector touching the glass, at least resting on the glass, and as close to the glass as possible, so that you don't get any diffraction or you know, any disturbance from getting that radar signal. And as soon as you can get that radar signal, the faster the better. So I always use a little suction cup mount, you know, that comes with the radar detectors, because then that requires the radar detector to be suction cupped to the glass, and so that doesn't drop down in the back. It mounts in the front, and the radar detector has little nibs on it, and most of them will, so that it's meant to be touching the glass. And so my system of mounting that is super beneficial, because I think from my research that it is very important that you do that you have your radar detector mounted that way. And then there's the scenario of mounting your radar detector low or mounting your radar detector up as high as you can. So here's the difference. Mounting it low is very beneficial if you're trying to capture what's the radar, the LiDAR radar. And the story about that is most radar detectors, when they detect LiDAR, like a motorcycle cop, because they have to be outside of their car or on a motorcycle that has, from what I understand, the LiDAR guns can't be shot out a window. They have to be out in the open. That's why most of the motorcycles use that type of radar. So with that, it's so fast. By the time your radar goes off, you've been pegged. There's really no defense against LiDAR, and that's just a given. There are radar detectors that hide your car, but you know, with little sensors that confuse the LiDAR. But if you get caught with that and it shows the cop on the other end gets a malfunction on his end, then they're smart enough to know that you might have some radar defeating tool in your car, and here the fine is like $1,000. I mean, in jail time or something crazy like that. So I'm not going to do anything to do that and go to jail or have that kind of fine. So the other LiDAR is mounting it down low because they're shooting basically at your front license plate. They're looking for a flat surface. So when they look through their gun, they have a little scope, and it's got a little crosshair in it, and they put that on the front of your grill. And so that's really close to when you mount it really low in your car. That's the advantage of doing that. But again, I say, you're trying to detect for LiDAR. I mean, it's stupid to try to do that. I actually turned my LiDAR radar off on my radar detector so that it speeds up my processor for the typical radar. So with the typical radar, the higher you mount your radar detector, the better it is for your typical radar, not the LiDAR, the laser radar. That's lower. But again, I'm telling you, it just defeats the purpose of trying to detect for that, because by the time your radar goes off, they've got you a second ago. I mean, there's no way to defeat that. So just nix that out of the way. So I set mine up for the best is to capture the, and I can't remember all the terminology, the A and B and the X signals, and mount that up as high as you can. So that's why I mount my radar detector up high too, is to give me all the advantage I can as far as distance. And so that's why I did that, you know, unless things have changed in the last couple of years and I'm just oblivious, but I don't think that's the case. But that's the purpose, another reason for mounting it up high like that, to give you some of the distance, you know, because when they shoot you, it's a very wide beam. It's a very wide, big circle, almost encompasses your whole car, depending on how far they're away, where laser LiDAR is almost the size of like the head of a flashlight. I mean, when it hits your car, the signal is so thin, such a small circle. I mean, it's like being shot with a bullet. So it's a lot more difficult to detect. It has to almost aim it directly at your radar detector for it to go off. So with that said, have a good day.